Hey guys, so like I said earlier today, I was going to be going through my testimony of my coming to Christ, and this has been something that I've not really been afraid to share, but today I will admit I've been a little nervous, not gonna lie, but I've always been super open about how I came to Christ and what he's done for me. And I've felt, this calling to share it with you guys, to show that even I'm human, even I've made mistakes, even I've fallen short of the glory of God, and that truly he can save anyone, including a dirty, rotten sinner like me. And to start it off, I'd say at the beginning, we'll start how I grew up. I grew up the average person. I grew up with Christian values, Christian household values, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, honor your father, your mother, the 10 Commandments basically was what I grew up with. But we would go to church Easter, Christmas, special occasions, we were that type of family. And my dad was raised Christian, grew up right above Pepperdine, and his family was super religious. My mom was just super busy with sports, so she didn't have a chance to really have a strong foundation in her youth. So for me, we just never really went to church. And I don't know, now we all do, and I'm so thankful that God has helped deliver me and my family into his kingdom, into his his house, into his with his people. And I knew who God was as a kid. I knew who he was, but I wouldn't really say I had accepted him. And gosh, this is a lot more harder than it feels like. And I'd say around 6th grade, I started going to church, pretty often. Starting to learn more and more about who Jesus was, what he did for me, his love for me. And around that time also was the time where and so around that time, average middle schooler, you learn about the birds and bees, you learn about all that stuff. And I had started to from older kids tell me, well, oh, you're cool if you watch porn. So I was okay, I guess I'll start watching it to be cool. And so around 5th grade summer to 6th grade, I had started watching porn. And that had a very strong control on my life up until a month and a half ago. And I had tremendously struggled with it. I could not look at myself in the mirror without saying you're dirty, you're rotten, you watch porn, you're an awful person. It was bad. And up and coming to 8th grade, it got bad. It got really bad. I was watching it every day. I was so captured with this lustful mindset, and it was just doing me so much more harm than it was good. And in 8th grade, I had started to get super anxious that people would find out, and I hid it so well. That sounds so bad to admit, but I did. And I just hid it. I got super anxious. I was had fallen into this deep state of depression, and I genuinely started to believe that I had served no purpose. And I would say yeah, I'm a Christian, but my actions didn't reflect it at all. And I was so more focused on what girls would think about me instead of what God thinks about me. And it was Christmas season of 8th grade, I was very convinced, like, this close to taking my own life. And that was not fun. That was not a fun experience at all. But I was bawling on my ground. I used to sleep upstairs. This was my room before I moved downstairs. I was on the ground just bawling out to God. I was like, if you're real, like, show me, help remove this stress from me, like, remove this anxiety, remove this depression from me. And as I had muttered those words, like, I had felt the goodness, the gracious, the amazing, the beauty of God has just instantly started overwhelming me, and I just, like, was bawling, and I felt so at peace. But yeah, I had still after that, I'd still, continue to fall short of the glory of God. Yet still continue to sin every single day, every single second, like, so corrupt in this lustful habit. And, I'd, like, started to, have small steps of growth in my faith, and, like, I would say it was kind of working. Like, I was, like, I would speak about God, like, I was open, and I was like, yeah, I am Christian, yet still my actions didn't really reflect, a full, like, Christian that I am today. And, that was kind of a reality check, being able to say, like, I claim to be these things, yet still my lust, my anxiety had gone away, but I was still anxious about people finding out my lustful desires. Like, I was still so anxious about people finding that out. And I would still go and I'd pray, and I'd be like, Lord, I'm sorry, I'm committing these atrocities. The next day I'd do the same thing, and it was just this cycle, and it was getting nowhere. And I was baptized April 9th, 2023, and baptism's like, washing away of the sin, like, you leave it in the water, and, like, that had worked, for a time. It worked for like a month or two, and then I just fell right back into where I was. And the reason why is because I didn't have belief. I solely, I didn't believe in what I was hearing. I would say I did, but, like, in my heart, there was no belief system. And, up until a month and a half, I had, I heard something. It was either Bryce or Cliff. I forget who said it, but they were like, if you pray and you don't believe what you pray, like, if you don't believe within your heart what you're praying, why would God help you? And not in the sense of, like, he won't help you, but in the sense of, it's like, if you don't believe it, like, it won't come around. Like, God will help you, but you also have to, like, not help yourself, but you have to put the faith and the trust and the belief in God that he will help you, because he's willing to help you. That's who he is. Like, he's just, he's good. It's in his nature to help us. And so I prayed, and I was like, look, Lord, like, my heart, that I don't want this, Lord. I yearn for you. I want to be with you. You are what I want. And I said those words, and instantly any temptation that I had just left. Like, I could go on my computer, and I could be like, no, I don't want to. Like, God removed it from me. Like, I had no temptation to look for that type of stuff. I had no temptation to, like, be a part of that stuff. And God really called me, like, to be better. He showed me what it's like to not struggle with it, and, like, be able to be open about it with other guys, and it'll be like, yeah, like, I don't do that anymore. Like, God helped me. This is how he helped me. Like, I'm here to help you if you need it. And within this past month and a half after praying, I've felt, my faith has exploded tremendously. Like, my story about Mark 1, and, just speaking about the Lord, and then the next day the Lord showing me like what he's speaking through me is of truth. And it's happened so many countless times, and I still can't wrap my head around it. Still to this day, I still like am in awe, because like I will read something, or God will show me something in the Bible that like exactly depicts like what someone's feeling, or like how I'm feeling, and like instantly will show me, or like I'll say something on my Bible study, the next day he'll show that happening, and it's like, God is good. Like, this is awesome. Like, that's the God we serve. We serve a living God. We serve a God who's just so just and just is so good and has so much love for you, and that love is like so good, and yet it can feel so overwhelming, but overwhelming in the sense that you matter. And I genuinely like have felt, you know, my increase of like, when I speak, I feel God speaking through me, and I feel more, not pressure, but I feel more aware of what I'm speaking, because I know people will be watching me, since I am so open about my faith now. And that's just a blessing to be able to show people like the good Jesus has done for me in my life, and just being able to share with other people like what my testimony is. Because here's the thing with the testimonies, like testimonies do not equal your relationship with God. Like, I have a crazy testimony. My testimony is probably not what some people think it is. And just because I have this testimony doesn't mean your testimony is worse than mine. My testimony is unique to me, your testimony is unique to you, and God still loves us so much. And like, just because I have this crazy encounter with God in my room where I'm bawling and asking him, or like this crazy testimony where it's like, you know, I was a drug addict, or like whatever it may be, your testimony does not like make you a better Christian than someone else. Like, we're all dirty, we're all rotten, we all have sinful nature, we're all made purified, and we're all made good through Christ and what he did on the cross for us. And like, there's no greater amount of love than what he did for us. And that's like my main thing about sharing my testimony, is I want to encourage people to like not just be more open about what Christ has done for them, but just to realize that like your testimony doesn't always mean that you're a better Christian than someone else, and that like God is working through each and every one of us. He's molding us. Like, God is the creator, but Jesus is the recreator. Like, it's like we're a pot of clay, you know, like God initially molded us, and Jesus is, you know, the carpenter, or like the molder. You know, he's fixing us, you know. He's constantly making small changes into who we are meant to, who we are called to be through his name. And that's why I'm so grateful, and I'm so impacted on what God has done for me, because when I speak, I truly feel him speaking through me. When I read his word, I feel the words actually connecting to me. I feel as if God is actually speaking to me when I read the words, you know. And this is crazy. I just, you know, randomly open my Bible, I see Psalm 34, and the first verse is, I will praise the Lord at all times. I will constantly speak his praises. And it keeps on going. I will boast only in the Lord. Let all who are helpless take heart. Come, let us tell of the Lord's greatness. Let us exalt his name together. I prayed to the Lord, and he answered me. He freed me from all my fears. Those who look to him for help will be radiant with joy. No shadows of shame will darken their faces. In my desperation I prayed, and the Lord listened. He saved me from all my troubles. For the angel of the Lord is a guard. He surrounds and defends all who fear him. And, you know, it's a lot longer, but I recommend you guys read that. But like, this is what I mean about God showing me just graceful things and just such beautiful things. And like, it's like I'm starting to freak out a little bit, because that's so cool, and it just gets me so happy and so excited to just constantly come on here and just like be able to share his word, because it just gets me so happy and just so like amazed at what. And like it just gets me so happy and so amazed at what God can do through us, and like how he works through us, and like he's working through you right now. And I'm so grateful, and I cannot thank God more than anyone who's watching this and listening to this. And I just have so much praise for him. And I thank you all for listening to my testimony and my little message. God bless and good night.